These days there's a lot of talk about self-care, but did you know that a lot of these self-care practices can actually be detrimental for your mental health, your success, your happiness, your satisfaction, and all of the good things in your life? So today I'm going to talk about some of these practices and when to go the different route. When to say, you know what? This is BS. I'm not gonna comply with this. I am gonna do what's best for me. Because that's the premise of our lives, of life itself. We are all different, we are all unique, and what might work well for me isn't necessarily gonna work for you. And so I'm gonna cover some of these self-help and self-care practices that don't work for a lot of people, and I'm gonna give you the alternative. And so before we dive into any of that, however, here's what you need to understand. And that is that self-awareness is the number one thing you need for this. Because if you don't know how you are wired, what makes you tick, what makes you feel fulfilled, what makes you feel great about yourself, then how do you know if you're on the right track? You need to know and understand what works for you so that you can do the right things. So let me give you one example of this from like a week ago, literally. I went on vacation for the first time in like 3 years for a week. And one thing I noticed is that just laying there on a bench at the beach, just standing, that makes me more anxious. That would be considered a self-care practice of just relaxing, of taking it easy. And that works detrimental for me because I am wired to be busy. I am wired to be moving forward. I feel at my best when I'm working out or when I'm doing a video like this, when I'm creating content, when I'm working on my business, when I'm working at my job and I'm being productive. I'm being like hyper effective with my time. That makes me feel satisfied. That puts a smile on my face. Way more so than laying there and doing nothing. Doing nothing for me makes me only feel worse and worse and worse about myself. And so the thing is, for you, laying on the beach for a few days might be the perfect thing to get you feeling better. But for a lot of people, it works the other way around. And so that's what I mean when I say that self-awareness is the key. You need to know, is this route gonna make things better for me? Or should I go that route instead? And until you start really sitting down with yourself to ask yourself these questions of, you know what? What truly makes me feel good about myself? What do I truly desire to get out of life? Am I happy with a life where I'm just taking things easy, even though I know my potential is way greater? Am I happy living a life like that, of just living on, like, doing quite little compared to what you can do? And if you are 100% satisfied like that, all the more kudos to you. Personally, I want to get the most out of myself. One of my worst fears is to get to the end of my life and to know that I have not given it the full 140%. That's something that really terrifies me and that drives me forward to get the most out of myself physically, mentally, intellectually, emotionally. Right? It doesn't have to be your life. If you're okay just having some job that you don't really like, but you're satisfied that way, fantastic. But it comes down to knowing what it is that you want to get out of yourself, out of the people around you, and out of life in general. And if you are living in alignment, that's ultimately the goal. Success is not about the money, the status, the cars, the relationship. Success is, in my opinion, designed for happiness. If you are living a life you truly enjoy, that you truly feel satisfied with, you have won the game of life. So let's tackle the first thing, and that is the idea that a lot of people will say, oh, you should take it easy, your work-life balance is completely out of whack, right? If people tell you that you're working too hard, screw them. It's not a judgment on you. Here's what it means when people tell you you're working too hard. They are judging you. They are judging your life, your work-life balance, your effort by their standards. What they're saying is, I would never work that hard. I wouldn't do that. Like, I would take it easy. But guess what? If you have a work-life balance where it's 80% work and 20% life, like right now it is for me, and you feel satisfied, you feel deeply fulfilled by putting in so much effort, that's fantastic. The 80 and 20 can be perfectly balanced. I don't want a life where it's like 50% just working and the other 50% taking it easy. I want to be busy. I want to be moving forward. I want to be getting the best out of myself. And so for me, that 80% of work in the work-life balance is completely justified. It is completely the right way. And so that idea of a work-life balance is a complete and utter scam. It depends on what you want. You decide if 80-20 is good, or if it should be 50-50, or 60-40, or 60-40 the other way, even 80-20 the other way, where you have so much leisure all the time. And then you do a little bit of work, right? You decide what your work-life balance looks like, and nobody else. So if people tell you, oh, you're working too hard, you're crazy that you're putting in all this effort, it means that your ambitions and the actions you take to achieve those are bigger than the person who is telling you to take it easy. It means that their ambition is so low that they can never see themselves working that hard, and so they try to dissuade you to do the same. Especially in society today, we have this entitled mindset among so many people, where people want to take the easy route. If you want to succeed at the highest levels, it has never been easier because the bar is so fucking low. So keep yourself to your standards. Decide who you want to be. Decide what you want to get out of life. Decide your aspirations, your goals, your values, your standards, and stick with them. Because the truth is that most people never do those things. Most people never say, this is what I want to get out of life, and I will achieve it, no matter what comes in my way. If there's an obstacle, I will smash right through it. If there is another obstacle, I will go over it. I will slide under it. Right? Whatever it takes. Most people aren't wired like that. But if you are one of those ambitious people, the people that I usually talk to on this channel, you will do yourself a great favor by subscribing to the channel, giving this video a quick thumbs up, and then just screw whatever opinion someone has of you when they tell you you work too hard. You decide whether you work too hard. And the only caveat I'm gonna give you on this topic is the following. And that is to be self-aware of when you're burning up. Because there are times when I'm highly motivated and I'm working 13, 14 hours in a day. But then at some point I feel like, you know what? I am burning up. I am physically just tired. Mentally, because of this ambition, this drive, I can keep going. But my body would break down if I would put in another 3-4 hours, let's say. So sometimes it is good to know when you need to take that small step back so that you can then take 3 steps forward. But don't let other people diminish your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, because they are bigger than the other person's. Right? The only people who will tell you that you're working too hard are those who have given up on their own dreams. Hatred and just discouragement. It doesn't come from above you. It doesn't come from the people at the top, usually. It comes from the people below you. who have lowered their own standards, their own values, and they try to drag you down. It's like crabs in a bucket. If one crab tries to go up and climb out of it, the other crabs will pull him down. There are some crabs in your life, I can guarantee you that. And so one thing would be to find other people that have the same drive, the same ambition as you have. But I'm getting a bit off topic here because we're talking about self-care practices that you should not follow. And one of those is what people say, oh, you just say no to everything. Just like do less and retreat back like that. Here's the thing when it comes to that self-care practice. In a lot of times, you should be saying yes to a lot more things. You should be saying yes to maybe trying out that new sport. Say yes to that new job opportunity. Say yes to that side hustle. Say yes to writing that book that you've been putting off for 5 years. Say yes to things that you think will inspire you. Say yes to doing more things that excite you. Say yes to your passions. And if you're not sure what those are, I've got some content for that as well, which I'll link on the top right. And if not, if you don't know what that is, guess what? Try things. Say yes, because all it takes is one activity you can add to your life instead of subtracting. That's gonna bring you that fire back. Sometimes that's all it takes. Something where you're like, oh my God, I can't wait for tonight because I'm getting to do this thing. Or I can't wait to get to work because I'm finally have a job that I love. Right? But it takes you saying yes instead of no to a lot of things. And so figure out what you think is going to bring you that happiness, give you that satisfaction, and go say yes to that. The self-care practice of just saying no to a lot of things, that can be detrimental because it can rob you of so many things that would bring you a lot more joy out of life. And so keep that in mind. And again, use that self-awareness of what you would enjoy, what you would not enjoy. Because here's the thing, the self-care practice of saying no to a lot of things. If you're stressed out at your job and your boss tells you, hey, can you work overtime? No is a pretty valid answer in that case. However, when it comes to maybe using your curiosity to learn a new skill or to learn a new language, then yes can be a valid answer. When you are an introvert and you have had too much social interaction already the last week, saying no to going to a party with friends can be the right decision. If you're an extrovert, that can be absolutely the wrong decision and you should be going out with people more often. Again, it comes down to you and what sparks your interests. And that's another thing. With self-care, people tell you to take your time for yourself, which is great sometimes if you're an introvert. If you're an extrovert, you need that social interaction with people. That's what gives them energy. That's what helps them get fired up. And so for me, I'm somewhere in between, right? It's not that you're 100% an introvert or 100% an extrovert. I'm somewhere in the middle. I think a little bit more to the introverted side. But the thing is, there are times, especially when it's a intellectual discussion, for example, rather than just gossiping or talking about football or whatever, right? Where I love the social interaction. There are times when it's like talking about a topic I don't care about, like talking about some thing that someone did in the weekend. Who the fuck cares? And I just get drained from the interaction. And so sometimes the self-care practice of taking time for yourself can be great. At other times, depending on who you are, that can be detrimental for your well-being. So evaluate things and be like, you know what? Should I be having more or less social interaction? Should I be saying yes to other things? Or should I be saying no and actually retreat, right? That's for you to decide. I can't know which is the right choice for you specifically because I don't know you, right? Maybe someday they will have a interactive video where I can ask you questions back and forth. But until that technology is here, go ahead, give this video a quick thumbs up and evaluate things for yourself to have your own self-awareness here. Another self-care practice you will hear preached often is to just focus on yourself. Focus just on you. And for a lot of people, that can have great results. For me, what I would recommend instead for a lot of people is to not focus on yourself, but instead go and volunteer your time at maybe an animal shelter or go do something else for somebody else. Because guess what? One of the best and easiest way to put a smile on your face is to do something great for someone else, to put a smile on their face. Even if that's just a well-meant compliment to the person next to you in line. Even if that's just picking up something somebody dropped in the supermarket when they have their hands full and they're like, I don't know how to pick this up. To be that helpful person to do that. Maybe it's just, whatever it is that you can do. There are so many ways in which you can make someone else's day. And most of them are completely free and don't take up a lot of time either. But the thing is, those can make you feel so much better about yourself, so much quicker than just focusing on you, of retreating back into that own shell that is your comfort zone. Because there is no real satisfaction in that, to be honest. Because the truth is, we get a lot of our happiness, our fulfillment from growth. It is not the goal itself that brings us the happiness that we desire. It is the journey to get from where we are towards that goal. That is what usually brings us the satisfaction. And the thing is, for a lot of people, especially those who are business oriented or career oriented, basically the corporate ladder becomes climbing this mountain, but then a lot of people, they feel incredibly down when they get to the top. Because now it's like, shit, now what? And so with self-care, sometimes the best thing you can do is to focus on your own personal growth. And that is to climb the mountain, while at the same time you look for a bigger mountain to climb. So if you, for example, want to lose some belly fat, while you're doing that, until you get to that point, maybe at that point you are like, you know what, I'm gonna get ripped. I'm gonna get a six pack, right? And maybe then it's like, you know what, my arms, they're lacking behind. So maybe I'm gonna get in the best shape there is, right? And so it's going from one goal to the next, to the next, to the next. That brings a lot of satisfaction to people. And in order to achieve that, let me tell you, discipline is the ultimate form of self-care. Because discipline makes it so that in the future you will have a better body, you will have a better, more satisfying career, your job, you're doing better financially, and you are getting better in every way, shape, and form when you are disciplined and you're focusing on the goals that matter to you. I don't know what those are, but as you stay disciplined towards building out the life that you desire, that is the ultimate thing you can do for your own well-being, your own satisfaction in life, and your own mental state. And so before I wrap up this video, I want to talk about one more thing. And this pertains to the topic of discipline as well. And that is that people tell you to take a step back when you're feeling stressed out, when you're maybe a bit overloaded, when there are some issues in your life, when there's problems. People tell you to just take back, like relax, and then once you're feeling better, you can go at it again. Guess what? If there's problems that are wrecking your mental health, maybe even your physical health, if there are things that make you feel stressed out, running away from those will not fix a goddamn thing. And even worse, when you procrastinate on tackling these issues, you make them worse. What we do when we procrastinate, it's not taking the problem over here and pushing it into the future. What you're doing is you're taking a problem, you're making it bigger, and then you're pushing it into the future. So when the time comes when you finally have to handle it, when there's no other option, that problem, because of your negligence, has become so big that it becomes almost insurmountable. And so instead of stepping back when stressful moments are there, go forward, solve the issues. Yes, it's gonna be draining at first, but after that, things get better. When you solve the things that take away your mental health, your sanity, your peace of mind, solving those issues is gonna make the improvements to your sanity, your mental health, and your stress levels. Keeping them unsolved because you're retreating back into your own shell, back into your own comfort zone, that is only gonna make things worse for yourself. And so don't be afraid to step up your game instead of slowing down when negative moments happen, which, by the way, they 100% will, because that's the game of life. Life becomes a game of solving problems so that you can get better. It's kind of like a video game where every time you meet a boss, you have another challenge for yourself, and then you beat the boss, and then you level up, right? That's how life works. Problems are there to be solved. Problems are there to help you grow. And I've had so many issues in my life that at the time were like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with this. But looking back in hindsight, they are the best things that ever happened to me, because they forced me to step up my game. They forced me to grow. They forced me to not retreat back into my shy, introverted self, but to get out there and to tackle these problems head on. They forced me to become a more disciplined person. They forced me to become the better version of myself. And so don't shy away from your issues. Don't shy away from the problems in your life, but tackle them head on. That is actual self-care. Running away from problems, to take it easy, to slow down, to give yourself a breather. That's not real self-care, because the problems that are making your life worse are only growing bigger when you do that. And so again, realize how you are wired. Take some of the things there where you're like, you know what, that's gonna work for me. And don't take the things that you're like, you know what, it's great advice for some people, but for me, I'd rather do it this way. You make that judgment. You make that judgment when other people tell you to do something. You make that judgment when I tell you to do that. Make up your own mind. I'm not creating these videos to say, hey, this is how you must run your life. I'm just saying, here's what works for me. Here's what can probably work for you. And you make up your mind which route you are going to take. Always use your own critical thinking whenever anyone gives you advice on what to do. Always. Whether it's from me or from somebody else in your life. And with that said, I've been rambling long enough. If you like this video, give it a quick thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.